And you can hear me all right? Yes, very good. Great. Okay. See to it that you sit in a comfortable position. Close your eyes and just recognize what is here. Just allow everything to settle. There might be a sense of slowing down, settling. And whatever your experience is in this moment, just watch it. See if you can recognize the nature of coming and going in everything. In the sense of observing, in watching, you will be drawn to the unchanging nature, the stillness that you are. And you recognize that that you can be aware of thinking, your emotional state, or whatever comes in your experience. It's not a matter of controlling the mind. In doing that, there's a lot of effort. There's a lot of trying. There's a lot of identification. See if you can notice how the whole experience moves. thoughts come and go. Even if the body seems to be there, the experience of the body is very changeful. Might feel heavy, light, tingling, tense, relaxed, all these things. But to be able to observe the phenomena that arise in the body, you always have to come and stay as the observer. This is not by default a free state, because there's often some sort of identity linked even to the idea of meditating. And with identification, I mean that you have the feeling that you are meditating. And maybe you experience sometimes when you sit that connection is no longer there. That there is an open space where it feels like meditation is happening instead of you are meditating. Actually, in our ordinary lives, there are many moments where we lose our identity. You might be absorbed by something, concentrating on something, being completely absorbed in it, and it feels like you come back. Many people enjoy these moments because they are just a space where you're not completely identified with the idea of I. But this spaciousness, this freedom of the mind is always here. As you get used to meditation, you start to relax into it. It's a common misconception that you have to meditate harder. But in a sense, you could say it's more about meditating softer. It's an openness. It's giving less significance to becoming and more to being. It's easy to think that you have to apply yourself more, or that you have to try harder. But mainly, what effort does, and when you feel so strongly that you are the meditator, it separates you from experience. It makes you feel small, not worthy. So instead, invite the whole thing. Allow thoughts to come. Don't even push away the darkness. Just allow the natural experience to move. But this requires some faith. You have to trust the teaching, trust awareness itself. And the more you relax into your heart, the easier it becomes. You can open your eyes, move your body a little bit if you need to. Let's talk a little bit about effort. I know that this is one of the subjects that is perhaps the most misunderstood when it comes to non-dual approach. I see so many people saying, yes, I heard about non-duality, it just says you don't have to do anything. So they don't do any sadhana because they say that there is no need. But that is just not being honest with yourself. You could say, yes, I'm already my true nature, so why bother? But that is not what you believe. when you have a sense of being separate, there will be a search, or there will be giving up of the search and being a bit bitter about it. To break the mind's habit, there is a sense of a doer and doership. Coming back to the sattvic nature, coming back to the stillness. It's both a longing and it can seem like an effort, and it can seem really like a doing. But as all practices that work and are good, they should end. They should always lead to the mind becoming quiet, mind becoming spacious. This is the purpose of all sadhanas. And there are many sadhanas that you can uphold, many meditation practices that you can uphold, and they give effort, they give effect in the moment. But they will only have effect when they are upheld. And it's mainly because of one thing, that they don't go to the source. They don't question the source. And the source is always the idea of the meditator, the doer, the one who is taking on meditation. And I understand that it's confusing. Because the truth itself is that beingness is effortless. But a sadhana is not experienced like that. To break the idea of the person, you have to apply some effort. You have to do your sadhana, and you have to inquire into the truth of yourself. And this inquiry can take many forms. You can do the very direct and simple inquiry to just ask, who is the meditator? Who is the source of this idea I have of I? But you can also ask things like, what really brings me happiness? What really brings me fulfillment? And they can seem very relative, personal questions, but at the depth of them, it is the same thing. Because if you really look, if you observe your surroundings and you observe yourself, you will notice these things. You will notice how the external does not satisfy. And no matter how much you accumulate, it's never done. So the problem doesn't seem to be in lack. It seems to be in the sense of lack. In the sense of having too little. So where does that come from? What is the source of that? We can talk about suffering on many levels, but the deepest source of suffering is this sense that it's not enough. that you need something more. And this comes from division. This comes from the idea that you are something and the external is something. And most people just live their life trying to get the external to apply to their will, as a very crude way of trying to get happiness. And as soon as you turn inwards and start to see something there, start to see what the present moment brings, what qualities it brings. Or even if you just get a short glimpse of the deep contentment of this moment, a spark is ignited. It changes the way you look at it. You start to understand that the experience comes from you. That the whole idea of a world out there is not true. Just observe and see how you project yourself on your world, on what you consider a good day, what other are, and what you consider them to be on a bad day. You can point fingers and say that the external world is changeful and has these bad and good qualities. But I'm just suggesting to look at it as if you are a projector instead of a receiver. Because the beauty in that discovery would be that love also comes from you. It is not an external thing that you have to hunt. And this is the real beauty of meditation, to discover that you are the source of love. Most people put a lot of effort into making other people like and love them. And even though you might see those as very good, great qualities, the externalizing of them can become a great bondage. And the freedom when you can see love in everyone is a great freedom. You see love in the one who is angry, bitter, because you know that it's just their superficial tendencies and their beliefs that create this. And the beauty of being is the same in them as it is in you. And many people who do their sadhana report the same thing, that they find the people around them to become more pleasant, to become kinder. even the ones who have a lot of darkness and project it are easier to love. Life is so much more than just trying to fix the stories in your mind. Most people just have a chain of thoughts to deal with in their everyday life. Try to relate to them best you can, strategize and fix things. But this is a very burdened life. I guess people call it normal. But the vast beingness is so close, closer than your breath. As Rumi says, as close as the moon is to the moonlight. There's no distance to finding this peace. It's not in ancient times. It doesn't belong to any specific sages. It's accessible to all. The mind wants to make it into something magical, fantastic, an experience that you will come to in a certain moment. But beingness is not a thing. It's not a phenomena. There is a thing that I hear a lot. People talk about that you're not a spirit in a body. You're a spirit, experience your body, these kind of things. But that sounds like it's another, like spirit is another entity. That the awareness has a point of watchfulness. like one being observing the other. But there is no center to awareness. It just is. All these things, you can just be with them. Just be with the sense that awareness is not a thing. Stay with it. How can you stay with a thing that is not a thing? And in some strange sense, that is possible. Can there be watchfulness without a watcher? Can there be an I without a person? And all these questions that I'm posing is the sadhana. It's breaking the habits of the identified mind. I know that you don't find the things that I say strange or new or completely taken out of left field. They feel intuitive and in a sense very normal. But still it's so common to fall back into the thinking mind with its ideas and identity. And these questions crack us open. It's not always comfortable. It's not always nice. It's not always soft. Sometimes it just feels like the universe is grinding you. And when you have some experience with it, you might even say to that grind, thank you. And perhaps you thought that meditation was just going to be nice and easy. And then you got to sit with your dirt, all your crap, all your self-loathing, envy, hate, jealousy, all this. But all these things just want to come to the surface and be seen. And when you no longer struggle to push them away, the tension of them can be lifted. The ego usually struggles a little bit because it's so entangled in all this stuff. It doesn't even want to lose the bad things because they feel safe. You know what they are. You go back to them again and again. But once you start to sense the freedom that comes when these tendencies leave, you don't fight it anymore. You allow the tears to come, and maybe you have to scream into a pillow. And it becomes spacious. Sadhana is a strange thing. Because your meditation practice, your sadhana, you might go at it with just all your tendencies. So there's not much practice in the beginning, it's just a revealing of your tendency. So that perhaps is your sadhana. And you might have to fiddle with it. And in the beginning you try certain things. You notice what you lack in your practice. Perhaps you have to add something. Devotion or deeper inquiry. But the clearer meditation becomes after practicing a while, the more you will see the sattvic, the silent nature of it, and the easier it will become to come back to that. I didn't believe it when I first heard that you need some guidance in your meditation practice. The first couple of years when I practiced, you would almost say that I had an aversion against the idea. And it took a long while for me to understand why you need some guidance. because especially when you start practicing, it's so easy to get lost in your mind, in the idea of what the sadhana is. And you will fall into all the pitfalls. You will make all the mistakes. And maybe some of them, at least, are unavoidable. There seems to be one that is quite heavy for many, and it is that they logically, somehow, is going to solve the meditation riddle. That it is a question of riddle solving, of effort. And if you have that disposition, that's usually quite difficult to give up. And I hardly think I need to tell you that that idea creates a lot of duality. And it's also something that I believed early in my practice, that just effort could do something. And it does almost nothing. Sometimes actually it's counterintuitive. It's against meditation. It's trying too hard. It's identifying too much as a meditator. And now I would say that sincerity is the greatest thing that you can have in meditation, not effort. And by sincerity I mean that you want to know what this is. You want to know yourself. You want to look into the depth of what beingness is. How much you want to find out. And that longing is much more here. It's much more a heart thing than a mind thing. Because the mind will rationalize. And of course your practice should feel logical to you. It should feel solid in the space of ideas also. But that space is very limited. Words cannot touch this beingness. And words can be interpreted in so many ways. And they can just be interpreted like a philosophy of the mind. And it can be very superficial. But if you listen here, you can notice that it can go very deep. Even very few words or a very simple statement. A few words like, who is having this experience? What is happiness? Is it possible to live from a non-dual space of awareness? Questions that can be very quickly uttered. Silence is the deepest teaching. A very famous Indian sage called Ramana Maharshi, he didn't speak for the first couple of years when he was teaching, and only wrote people notes. He saw no point in giving pointers in words. Because if you can mirror someone else's silence, it's so easy to just recognize yourself. That's all it is. That's all you do in a mirror. And it can also feel sometimes that the little you does not fit. It's like they're getting pushed out. Because this mirror is not for the ego. it is to show you your true self. Is there any questions today? It's strange how the mind so easily shifts. You can be caught in something, in ambition, in dark thoughts, and then you just step into the light. Really like just coming out of a shadow. They usually don't happen gradually. You just step out. And the ego that is made of this darkness says, but we just have to fix the darkness. We can rearrange it in different ways. But as soon as you see the light of beingness, you will say, but maybe we can just step into the light. No, let's just first see what we can do with the darkness, the ego says. We can move around things. It's good. You're going to like it after a while. We can find some way in the darkness. But the... And it can feel like no one is stepping into the light. Everyone is just talking about the darkness, different aspects of it, how they dislike life. And they connect their darkness with your darkness, and you say, oh yes, I hate my job as well. People don't clean properly, all these things. And you just connect through darkness. And at least it feels safe in this darkness because you have the same references in the darkness. And you feel somewhat a little part of connection. And the problem with moving from darkness into the light is that it feels like leaving all those connections that you made in the darkness behind. It feels strange and new. Feels like there is nothing to hold on to. You can feel even a bit disoriented. Have a sense of that you don't really know who you are. which is a great sense, by the way. But you can feel lost, and I just want to tell you this because apparently I'm very honest with what's going on when you practice meditation. And in a sense, in one sense, the practice of meditation is very lonely. You can have a sense that you want to bring someone along on a journey, but on this journey it's not really possible. They can like the same things that you do, also be into the sadhana and do all this, and it can be beautiful, and it can really inspire each other to contemplate, to practice all these things. But ultimately, you have to step into the light by yourself for it to reveal that you were never alone. And you were never by yourself stepping into the light. But for it to make sense when I'm telling you, I have to put it in these words. And at first it might scare you, but I never heard of anyone who stepped into the light and wanted really to go back to the darkness. But the light surprises you also. You think of it as a happening, but it's only beingness. And to the ambitious mind, it can even feel lazy and stubborn. But it contains so much acceptance, so much love. Unlimited amounts. And you're, of course, free. You're free to enjoy your ego as you like. I'm just telling you, if you want to end the suffering of feeling dissatisfied with your life, going with egoic mind is not the way. And I know that you have to have some trust in what I say. But mainly, I want you to check me. practice and to see if what I'm saying is true. Please check me. And also take all your, if you have doubts, if you have questions, or if you cannot ingest certain things that we're talking about here. Also, look at really what those things are, what the resistance is, what is left. Many people have a couple of things that they feel like, yeah, okay, I enjoy this part of it and this kind of part of the practice, but and there's a little something, but I cannot give this thing up in that way, or you have some kind of thing. And to just also be very honest with that. It's easy for the mind to downplay that a little bit, but that can be the thing that just keeps you anchored with the egoic mind. And the real freedom is so free. I think that it's surprising to many people. It's like you find out that there is no rules to it. It's not contained. Do you understand what I mean? It's just spacious, expansive, with no form. And the flavors in it that it invokes is just love. And I don't mean a personal love. It's a deep love that goes through everything. In a way, it's a crazy love. Limitless. To the rational mind, it feels too big. And to body it expressed by a sensation here. And if you allow it, it's not very subtle anymore. It's like it takes you over. If there was ever anyone to be overtaken. And this is where jhana meets bhakti. This is where the inquiry meets devotion. Maybe you have a philosophical disposition and you start inquiry. But you will find that the depth of inquiry is devotion. And to the logical mind, that is just strange. But the beingness, it is what it is. Because all leads to the same source. And that source is not thought. My guru said it beautifully. When he talked about inquiry, he said, it's like using a thorn to remove a thorn in your finger. You have difficulty getting the thorn out, and you use another thorn to poke it. And finally it comes out. And what do you do with the thorns? You just throw them. When the question of who you are has served its purpose, there is just peace. You don't need to continue the inquiry or poke at it anymore. There is just spaciousness. There is just awareness itself, whatever name you like. And this is how all meditation techniques should be used. Like a thorn to get the other thorn out. This is how we use mantra. To still the mind, to come into beingness. I know that there are so many traditions that focus so hard on the specific techniques. And I want to be super clear with that. Techniques are temporary. And if they don't hit the root cause, if they don't hit identification itself, then, and if nothing changes, when you stop your technique, you go back to how you were before, then that is not a valid technique. Or your approach is not to come to the core of it. And I understand it's difficult because you can have all these agendas on why you meditate. Many people start to meditate because they want to feel better. I was the same. I want to get rid of depression. And after a while, my motives changed. But it's so easy with that to just want to go to a certain point. And if you start to feel better, you stop the sadhana. You don't look any further. But if that thing in you, I don't know if I would call it curiosity, but in a sense maybe it is. It's like a deep existential longing for truth. And when that is awakened, and you want to know, it's a beautiful thing. Because that in itself is just awareness wanting to know itself. Even if it's a kind of a longing, there's so little of the personal in it. And I think that kind of longing, even if it's in the egoic mind, is beautiful. The longing for freedom itself. The longing to know oneself. And if you're a very strict Advaita Vedanta person, you would say, but there is no one to be found. But then I say, that is too strict. You have to talk and explain from the person. Any questions now? All very peaceful, very good, very clear. No doubts. Love that. The difficulty with the challenges that can arise is that you can sense that there is something there, but there are no words for it. I remember one time I had that sense. I'd sensed that there was something, and I was on a retreat, and someone else asked the question. And they asked my question. But I didn't know it until I heard it. I'm going to read a passage from this one. The Ashtavakra Gita. Do you know it? No. I love it. This one is called the Boundless Ocean. I am the boundless ocean. This way and that, the wind blowing where it will, drives the ship of the world. But I am not shaken. I am the unbounded deep, in whom the waves of all the worlds naturally rise and fall. but I do not rise and fall. I am the infinite deep, in whom all the worlds appear to rise, beyond all form, forever still, ever so am I. I am not in the world is not in me. I am pure, I am unbounded. Free from attachment, free from desire, still, even so am I. Oh, how wonderful. I am awareness itself, no less. The world is a magic show, but in me there is nothing to embrace and nothing to turn away. If you've never read this book, I highly recommend it. I find it very beautiful, and Ashtavakra is a famous sage that his name means that he was bent in 8 ways. He had a very deformed body. And yes, this is his song, his Gita. And it's just very, I very much enjoy these kind of descriptions that just talk about beingness. It's not a teaching, it's not question and answers, it's nothing like that. It's just beauty. Yes, and here he says, I am not in the world is not in me. How can it be? It's a beautiful way of putting the experience of the impersonal. Okay.
Did you say that it's on your website?
You have to speak into the microphone. You still have to speak into the microphone.
And the book
You mean that you asked me if I could put some book recommendations?
No. This book is on your website, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. I just said that. If people want to read it.
Very good. Yes, it is. I thought we could sing to Nataraja, the dancing Shiva, with the fire that burns ignorance. It's a great symbol for the light. Nataraja, Nataraja, Jai Shiva Shankara Nataraja. Nataraja, Nataraja, Jai Shiva Shankara Nataraja. Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om. Nataraja, Nataraja, Jai Shiva Shankara Nataraja. Nataraja, Nataraja, Jai Shiva Shankara Nataraja. Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om. Nataraja, Nataraja, Jai Shiva Shankara Nataraja. Nataraja, Nataraja, Jai Shiva Shankara Nataraja. Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om. Nataraja, Nataraja, Jai Shiva Shankara Nataraja. Nataraja, Nataraja, Jai Shiva Shankara Nataraja. Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om. Nataraja, Nataraja, Jai Shiva Shankara Nataraja. Nataraja, Nataraja, Jai Shiva Shankara Nataraja. Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om, Shiva Om. Nataraja, Nataraja, Jai Shiva Shankara Nataraja. I wish peace upon everyone, and that every being gets to realize their boundless nature. That everyone gets to be free from the shackles of suffering and identification, and experience their boundless nature.